I'm live. Welcome to the parallel world of Simon NoChaNoMa. I don't know if there's anybody there. They said there were two people waiting. One of them was me. I'm just waiting for myself. And I need to turn the sound off here. There we go. Okay, welcome. It's a grey day. It's grey here too. I'm in 2 dimensions. Drinking 2-dimensional wine and talking to a flat screen. And could be somebody there that I'm talking to. There might not be. I don't know. Make yourself known. Stuffer, hello. Hi, Dennis. Sorry. Tim has had to go. Oh, well. Oh, duh. That's a shame. Because I went to the HEMA and I got this. It's a black and white letter. I'm going to be eating this later, possibly in full color, possibly in black and white, in my alternate manga universe. It is a word that Isekai. This word up here. Yeah. This is apparently this is a subgenre of manga and anime, which I shall explain. It seemed quite appropriate, where a person finds themselves all of a sudden, for no apparent reason, in an alternative world. You want a chocolate letter now? Well, yeah, these are only €1.10 from HEMA. So if I had Simon NoChaNoMa, I'd have spent a lot of money. I just spent like €4.50 on a coffee and chocolates. So anyway, where was I? I was in an alternative world, which is a subgenre of anime and manga in Japan. Throw it at you. There you go. This kind of S there. Yes, the protagonist. Hi, Ellen, Dennis, Ellen. You know each other. The protagonist in the Isekai world finds themselves in an alternative universe, a fantasy world. It's quite appropriate, where they are the hero or the anti-hero, and quite often they are, because it's manga and anime, they're generally a geek, and they have geek powers when they enter this alternative world. Powers that are in the real world are completely rubbish, like being able to play a game very well, or some such. And in the alternative fantasy world, this comes in really handy, which is it's kind of like a wish fulfillment sort of manga. But I thought it was appropriate in the fact that it takes place mostly in anime and manga, and in a genre of light novels. Although it does have antecedents, should I say antecedents? Was it antecedents? Precedents in slightly more classic literature, such as Alice in Wonderland and The Wizard of Oz. Whereby someone is transported to a fantasy universe. What I'm doing here in my fantasy universe is anybody's guess. This is my fantasy living room. It has been for 2 years. You took a break from editing. That's good. I mean, I took a break from real life just to enter my studio. So this other channel is my alternative world, MS. Hello, welcome. Yes, it is in effect. If you watch my other channel, the one that does just the vlogs and so on, that's slightly more down. That's slightly more what I'm. Who's this? Slightly more what I'm about. Who's that? Oh, it's Caffeine Jedi. It's my friend, the YouTuber Caffeine Jedi. I said she had a nice haircut. So she's thanking me. Anyway, yes, where was I? Alternative world is this world, really. This is also an aspect of me. In both worlds, I speak English. in the real world, I have to speak Dutch. En dat is niet zo moeilijk voor mij. Voor Dennis en voor Elle is dat ook fluitje van een cent, omwille van het feit dat ze Nederlands zijn. There we are. That was the extent of my Dutch for you today. So in my videos and at the weekend and on my own, I speak English. So it's not the alternative world where sort of the Simon of my past or of a certain aspect of me manifests itself. I mean, Dennis, if I could ask you, you don't do your videos and your live streams in Dutch. This is presumably to reach a wider audience. But do you feel, and do you and Tim feel that you're being yourselves when you're speaking English? This is a good question. I have a Belgian accent. Yes, well, I live in East Flanders. So just be glad I don't live in Antwerpse. Dankjewel, Elle. Yes, 26 years and speaking it more or less every day. So I can write it and read it. Grammatically, I'm not quite sure whether, I struggled a little bit in the beginning, because like Japanese, you put the verb at the end, sort of thing. But the sentence, and then the verb. All right, okay. So, Dennis, do you feel you're being real when you're speaking English, or does it just switch? Is it easy? Do you not consider that? Doe normaal, yeah. Well, YouTube and doe normaal do not go together. People who say doe normaal sort of tend to watch television and not YouTube, and they don't realize, but they're sort of being left behind and fading fast. Hello. This is the result of spamming people with the link this morning. It'll be probably somebody saying thank you or stop sending me this spam. It's right. It's my friend in Okayama. One more gaijin. He's having to learn more and more for his test. His JLPT test starts in beginning of December, so that's why he's not being very active on YouTube. Yeah, well, I struggle with grammar. I think we all struggle with grammar, even English people. We never learned. I think there was 1 year at school where the English teacher actually decided to teach grammar, and it was like, what's this? You have a British sister-in-law. Well, I've got all my in-laws or ex-in-laws. I don't know whether I suppose they stay your in-laws once you're divorced, but they're all Belgian. Yeah. Yes, if you have asked, if you it's too early for wine, I don't know. If one is asked to describe a sentence that you speak and describe it grammatically, I will be lost. All the terminology, past participle, verb intransitive. What? Pardon? Hey, no. And you have to mark it in the sentence where the verbs come and everything. When I was learning Dutch, and the teacher would write on the board, this is and this goes there and that goes there, and so basically, I just watched a lot of like Belgian and Dutch television, mostly Dutch actually television, because it was slightly better than than Belgian television. Certainly the children's programs. I watched a lot of children's programs, being a dad, and we watched Belgian. I tended to prefer Dutch children because they're like, I think the people who made Dutch children's programs back in the 1990s were all on weed because they're very bizarre and fun to watch. And I don't know what it's like now. I mean, I generally don't watch Dutch children's television anymore, but back then it was like, whoa. These guys are like, been watching too much Monty Python and smoking too much. So yes, that happens. Not anymore. Now it's just YouTube, and that's, yeah, as you said, do normal. It doesn't happen on YouTube. There is no normal. I search for normal on YouTube. Normal stuff. You can find it, but mostly it's people like me. Anyway, I'm going to switch from this black and white background just to liven things up a bit. Do my usual. Go here, start this playlist, blah 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 blah. The playlist and play. There we are. This is 2 hours of walking in the rain in Tokyo going on in the background here from somebody a couple of months ago. Just, I live vicariously in Japan through YouTube videos. Chroma key. Okay. Click, click, click. That's just me. I have a gap in my head due to lighting conditions and green screen. So what are you having for lunch, Dennis? Oh, I'm having liquid lunch. Yes, Otnell. I have a digicorder provided by Belgian television internet and television company, which just gets used twice a year when my parents come to visit, and the rest of the time I'm paying for nothing really. Enjoy my wine. Did you put that H in there? Specifically, as this is wine without an H. Wine with an H is me whinging on. Yes, it's an app, and you really have to have a better green screen than mine, and better lighting, because you can see sort of the green screen peeping through, and a bit of my forehead where Tokyo's rainy streets appear to be sort of coming out of my head. But yes, you want to get yourself an app, Dennis. You were being too fast. There you are. Doesn't pay to be too fast. You got to take it slow and easy. Yes, green screen. I mean, this is a fast and loose green screen. It's a piece of cloth on a cardboard roll on an artist's easel, and an app. Ooh, roombutter amandelstaaf. I haven't yet looked up sugar-free marzipan. I should do that. But I was in the shop that I was in this morning. I thought about it because there was like all these marzipan things along with the chocolates. And I thought, I remember telling Ellen I was going to look for sugar-free marzipan. Yeah, I mean, in my earlier show, when I did the Three Old Dudes, we only had green screen. I had this app towards the end of that show, and I kind of started using it then. But before that, it was all makeshift with various bedspreads and curtains and backgrounds and things. So yes, Isekai. I mean, I've been looking it up. It became very popular in the mid to late 2000s in Japan. So popular that certain literary competitions and so on banned it because it just everybody was writing isekai stories. And I did look at putting isekai manga in the background, but it's very manga-y and very anime-y, and that's not really my cup of tea. The concept is interesting. Like I say, it has its precedents, like Alice in Wonderland and so on. But with the modern anime things, no. Once a year, that's the trouble, Ellen. Once a year is not enough. You must know that when I was a child, I used to love Battenberg. I don't know whether you know what that is. Anybody with an English background would probably know what Battenberg is. It's a kind of like cake, two-color cake, sort of yellow and pink in squares, and it's like absolutely covered on the outside with marzipan. Couldn't get enough of that. Yes, it's difficult to resist. So, as a YouTuber, Dennis, do you feel, to what extent do you feel the YouTube world is a reflection of your world? Do you draw a line between the two? Personal question there. Just going to adjust my lighting. Click on here. Properties. Brightness. No. There we are. Okay. You're not a huge fan of marzipan. It's not limited to manga, MS, and yes, Murakami. Yes, basically most of Murakami's novels, not just IQ84, tend to be kind of, you could describe them as isekai. I've read one about the sheep. That was bizarre. That was really bizarre. And I've read one where a guy is invited from Tokyo by two people from Hokkaido, two women from Hokkaido. And there's undertones of cannibalism and ritual sacrifice and bears. It's very bizarre. Yeah, I mean, I'm not online, obviously. I mean, in terms of YouTube, being present on the internet for part of the day when I'm working, apart from my lunch breaks when I go on and scroll through Instagram and Facebook and so on. But yes, I kind of live vicariously. I should really, for a healthy, according to all reports and psychological things, a healthy lifestyle involves going out and actually meeting people. That time in Amsterdam, it cost me about 85 euros, but it was worth it because I met you lot, and I actually had socially interacted with living people. So that was good. But mostly it occurs on here. I don't really interact with Belgians. Don't know why. I never have to any extent. Perhaps I should, but then I would have to speak Dutch, or I could speak English, and because they all speak English fairly well. I've not really gone out and tried it that much. Where are we? Oh, look, a vending machine. what they never tell you about vending machines is why vending machines are so everywhere in Japan. Just going off topic here. It's because every little village and town used to have a guy going around carrying all kinds of products and, eats and drinks and things. And people would come out and buy them off him. And that idea got translated into eventually into vending machines. And they obviously appeared then where all these once hawkers of goods had appeared. So that's why there's so many. Yes, YouTube viewers and friends have been. I've actually got more friends that I've made through YouTube than I have in real life, as it were. But I've met them. What I like to do is actually meet them. Which costs a lot of money if they live in Japan. But there you go. Yeah, your mum. Yes. You have to try and persuade her to start a YouTube channel, or get her to watch YouTube more. Get the older generation. More vending machines. Inescapable fact. And they all of J. I mean, it's just done to death. Vending machines on J vlogs. I don't know if you watch that kind of stuff, but here's a vending machine. Here's a vending machine that gives this, does that, does the other. And what would be more interesting is here's where they make all the stuff and deliver and fill up the vending machines. Hey, Tomo! Jolly good, you're going to learn British English. Top hole. What? I say. There's my Mr. Bean impersonation. Perk! 2D people, yes, we're here in 2D. Just imagine if it was YouTube in 3D and you would all be wearing goggles and virtual reality Simon. I'd reach out through the screen. Oh, Dennis, before you go. Yes, here we are in colour. There we are. Shall I eat it now, Dennis? I'm going to official. This is like this is one of those opening videos on. This is the nearest you'll get to an Simon NoChaNoMa does an opening video. Here we are. Look at that! What amazing! It's a packet inside a packet. You're driving. Unfortunately, Tombo, driving will not allow you to see, obviously, this delicious chocolate S. S for Simon. There you are, Otnell. Although I said I was on a diet. It's dark chocolate. That's my favorite. Ooh, I don't really heard that. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, big hole in the ground. Oh, excuse me. You just talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to munch on my chocolate. Fun fact, Tomo. American English is derived, obviously, from British English, but it's actually what British English was 200 years ago, including the way they talk to a certain extent. What are you watching in the background? This is somebody 2 months ago walking around Tokyo in the rain for 2 hours with a gimbal. I subscribe to about 3 channels where people do this, not for as long as this guy did, because, again, Isekai, parallel world, the world of Japan, where I can't be because it costs too much to get there. This is the way I experience, and I've walked around Tokyo, not in the rain, but a lot like this, just exploring the streets, and it's nice to see. But so that's why I've got this going on in the background. Well, it would make sense, Perk. There you go, Tomo. As people emigrate to a country, form a little enclave, and preserve their language and culture from when they left. It's like I think I can't remember what Armenians or Turks or something. There was some country somewhere where they'd emigrated to, and they'd preserved. Some of them are Muslim, and they preserved the values and beliefs that they'd left with, like 100, 200 years before. In the meantime, I think it was Turkey, and Turkey had since evolved into a modern state that was more open and free thinking and whatnot. So that when they encountered Turkish people visiting, they were shocked. Oh. Do I know Yu Yu Hakusho? No, sorry, no. I mean, I didn't know about Isekai until about 10 o'clock last night. I can't even quite remember what train of thought led me to find the word. I was looking for a word to describe what this show would be today, the concept behind it, and the feeling I had of doing this every week, being stuck in my living room, as it were. So yeah, no, I don't know Yu Yu Hakusho. I shall have to look that up. And now I need more wine because, you know, when you eat lots of chocolate and sweet stuff, you get that thirsty feeling. I'm getting, my sugar spike is going to go through the roof. Alice in Wonderland, yes. Well, that is about a precursor. Various stories, according to Wikipedia, source of all knowledge, but various stories not known as Isekai, obviously, by the people that wrote them, but you know, Isekai concepts have been around for a while. It's a Japanese anime. I've only watched one complete Japanese anime that I got from the library years ago, about a girl who could go back in time. Not a great deal, but she sort of woke up in school, and then events that had occurred before she could go back and blah blah blah, and it was all and the sort of the main event that had triggered this was that she was going downhill on a bike, and the brakes didn't work, and there was a train crossing at the end, and just before she went in front of the train, this thing occurred where she could go back in time. It's very odd. Did I ever read about literary theory at art school? Not really, no. We did art history and art theory, but not literary stuff. Hang on, what's a really effed up Isekai? Oh, Alice in Wonderland. Traveling between the real world and the ghost world. That's a very standard kind of Isekai. Makes me think of I've been binge watching all the cutscenes from Death Stranding. For those who don't know, that's the latest game from Hideo Kojima, and it involves flipping between the world of the living and the dead. Hang on, last time your brake broke, you finished in a bus. Oh, in a bush. That's curious, actually. Oh, I've got chocolate. I was driving home last night after dropping my son off, and there was a car in a tree. Oh, I'd hit a tree on the way home. And later, as I got home, I could hear the ambulances and so yes. Critical theory programs. Well, I mean, we had a class. I think we had a class where we discussed general all topics once a week. But the remainder of the week during art college was mostly, here's a camera, go out and make art, then come back and explain it all, sort of thing. And then other day in the week, we'd have a lecture on art history and such like. Oh, pardon me. Stranger Things, yes. These are not quite television programs. They're on-demand Netflix programs, but still, I don't watch television. I know of Stranger Things, Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. Never seen them, apart from like glimpses of Game of Thrones when my son was binge watching them on DVD. I have watched The Outer Limits and stuff like that. So similar sort of thing. Half S, half-assed, half S. A scary parallel world like The Man in the High Castle and stuff like that. Hopefully this isn't scary. Well, it's parallel. And this is a kind of parallel in the fact that it's. I think Japan is more or less at the same latitude as Europe, which is why it has seasons and rains a lot. Game of Thrones is amazing. It's very gloomy looking, though. Every time I caught my son watching it, everybody was in the dark with like a little bit of light lighting up their faces. It was never sunny in Game of Thrones. Oh, you got to go, Dennis? Hang on. I didn't see that. I'm missing my... Bye, Dennis. He's probably gone. YouTubers and busy lives. I'll probably have to go out and make another video I released 2 videos within the space of a week on my regular channel, which is a yearly feat for me. Whether I can do that consistently is a different matter. People have said, like you, Perk, that you enjoyed that walking video. So I may be tempted to go out and do more of those. We're talking about Death Stranding and the cuts at the end. I enjoyed the cutscenes, apart from the ones where the character goes and delivers stuff and talks to the holograms, because they were very repetitive and not particularly interesting unless you're into the details of the story. But I kind of understood the story from all the cutscenes, and the cutscenes obviously are much more visually refined than the in-game graphics, although the in-game graphics are quite good. So they're nice to watch. Typically Kojima, typically weird. I understand the concept behind the game now and everything. Apparently, if you slog at it in the gameplay, and you're one of these sort of people who hibernate and don't socialize very much, you can interact socially with other gamers, not directly but indirectly through the game and on blah blah blah. So it and I've seen videos about the gameplay that make it look a little bit more interesting. When I first saw it, I thought, wow, yeah, I'd like to get that. And then I looked at the gameplay and I thought, oh, that's a bit dull. Not a lot going on. He's just carrying boxes from one place to another. But yes, it's a real slog, but you can do all kinds of fun stuff in between. But it seems to, if it takes 60 hours to get to the end of the story, just playing the game, that's quite impressive in my eyes, in terms of you don't often get that in single player games anymore. Usually you can complete a game within 8 to 10 hours. There's lots of characters, but there are about 5 or 6 main characters, none of them playable apart from the main character. So that's and I also like the fact that it's a single player game, which often isn't made much anymore. Indeed, Never Sunny and Very Bloody. Game of Thrones, yes. I know. I mean, I think I said before once a long time ago that I'm more of a Xena warrior princess than Game of Thrones person. You don't know anything about video games. Well, they can be good. Like they're sort of entertaining. I used to play a lot. Oh, this is basically what we're seeing in the background here. This is basically what Tokyo looks like when you get away from sort of the shiny, bright main streets. It looks like this everywhere. Sort of lots of little alleyways and compact houses. Super Nintendo. Well, I started playing video games when I started playing video games when I was 10 in 1976, when I was on a cross-channel ferry with the family going to France, and they had Pong, like a video game cabinet on one of the decks. That sort of tennis, the really ye olde tennis game, and that got me sort of hooked on playing video games. And then I didn't have any home consoles or anything like that, because they really weren't around until about 1979, when my parents bought me for Christmas a very basic video game console where you could play Pong and football, which was basically just those moving bars up and down. I enjoyed that very much. But it didn't really get into. I'm more of a Sega Mega Drive person, and I bought my first Sega Mega Drive third hand off my brother-in-law in about 1991, when I was 25. You recently played a classic RPG called Disco Elysium, Call of Cthulhu on Ecstasy. Okay. Yes. Don't often see YouTube videos about that. Do you play video games, Ellen? Oh, by the way, Ellen, how is the puzzle coming along? You have to post an update on Instagram. Ellen is doing a puzzle of Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night on her carpet. But did you use some cardboard? I hope you used some cardboard. Atari. No, it wasn't an Atari. It was a Binatone, and you had to put like big, like batteries in it to make it work. No, you either if you either video games are. I mean, today video games are mostly sort of people play them on their phones. I've got a hole in my head again. Oh dear! I'm going to go back to my living room. oh, now I'm all green. Hang on. There we are. Just my shoulder is disappearing into the background. Yes, video games can be quite addictive and fun. I remember playing Final Fantasy X-2 and 200 hours. I think I clocked up on that one. But yes, I still play video games, but only when my son brings his PlayStation 4. I think I've said that before. Going back to the chocolate, I might save it a little bit. I'll save a little bit for later. There you go. You play games on your iPhone. That's what I was talking about. When I was in Japan, everybody was like on the train. And there's me on the train, looking at Google Maps. Right, where do I need to go? Looking at Facebook, going on Messenger. I'm nearly there, and everybody else is on the just tapping away, playing some kind of game. Well, there's to a certain extent, I agree with you, Perk. Leaving a certain amount to the imagination, as opposed to HQ graphics. That's something I found 10, 15 years ago with first-person shooter games. I would see these kids in the game shop, and at that time they had like PC set up, and kids could go in and play, and they would be playing whatever shooter game it was. And the graphics would be very realistic, but they'd be charging around, and it was like a waste, or all this realistic graphics. Pokemon Go. The only Pokemon I've ever played is the card game with real cards. They still play Pokemon Go in Japan, I've seen. Yes, if you want total imagination, you have to go way back into the mists of time to to RPG games in the olden days on the computer, where it would just be a series of descriptions and questions. You're in a dungeon. The door is locked. What do you see? And you have to type in what you use key, or that kind of thing. And then the rest of it would just be that with text on the screen, and the rest you'd have to make up. Phoenix 787 is just Thanksgiving and all that. Smiley face. Yeah, just maintaining my social interaction with former guests. Sorry. Yes, scary puppets. I used to be scared of stop motion animation characters from British public information films. They were quite scary. Excuse me. Where are we? What are we doing? Yes, if you look up on YouTube, people, if you look up UK scary public information films, and see what us children of the late 60s and early 70s had to watch on television to warn us about the dangers of wandering off and playing on our own. Not only from sort of dodgy adults, but the dangers out there in the real world. There was one about the dangers of playing near water, and there was literally sort of scenes of children playing near water, and then the Grim Reaper would sort of emerge from the water. It was very odd, and scary. Again, this was obviously in the 70s, and possibly like Dutch television from the people were on something that made these. Hey man, let's have the Grim Reaper in there. Yeah, cool. Yes, scaring children into behaving. Work for me. I never went swinging over. Although I did when I was not a child, but in my early 20s. Some friends sort of decided it was summer, and we decided we'd go up to this quarry in the Lake District, an old abandoned quarry, and I chickened out of going round to the top end of the quarry and jumping off the cliff into the water. I just went with another friend, and we swam. It was very warm, hot weather, but the water was like you could be in the water for like 5 minutes, then you had to get out, and you were like shaking. And these guys were jumping off the cliff. It's been banned since, apparently, because of like abandoned cars and junk in the water that you could land in if you dived off the cliff. I won't be doing that ever again. I can tell you. Peer pressure. That's what I was there. They were there. Let's go. Let's do it. And you don't want to say it. No, thank you. Usually, there's an event. Yes, some traumatic event that sends the person. Like in this anime that I watched, the girl was just about to be hit by a train, and that triggered the sort of being able to go back in time. Not quite sure what it was in Alice in Wonderland. There were lots of mushrooms and smoking stuff going on with caterpillars and Cheshire cats and stuff, and a little bottle saying "Drink me," or Lewis Carroll having unclean thoughts and stuff. It's anime, manga, and light novel, as opposed to perhaps also, but it's also as we talked about in Murakami's novels, which are not quite so light. But in general terms, in recent years, in this century, it's been mostly anime and manga, and mostly Japan, where it's been given that term and has become popular. But obviously, it's not exclusive to that, but it's not known as Isekai, and is not often used as a genre. There you are, a bit of culture. I'm going to be sick. I've had no lunch. My lunch is wine and chocolate. He's still walking around these streets in Tokyo. I've got little screens here that I can see which I can switch to. 2 hours. I wouldn't have been able to watch it. It did say ASMR. So there's basically the sound of the rain on his umbrella and his feet tramping through wet streets and cars and people passing by. I mean, I did watch a video this morning. I do watch videos of people walking about. People get stuck in a VR video game. Well, Tron, you mean? It does. It's not fantastic. Let's have a look. Where's it made? Made in Belgium. Well, there you go. It's a Dutch company, Hema, but the chocolate is made in Belgium. So theoretically, it should be good chocolate. It's okay. It's not the best I've had. Tastes a bit like cooking chocolate. Anybody British would know what cooking chocolate is. You would stand there when your mother was like baking stuff, and the cooking chocolate would come out, and you wait and wait and wait to allow to be given a bit of cooking chocolate. And as a child, you didn't discern between cooking chocolate and chocolate from the sweet shop. But it's basically like cooking chocolate, which is not the creme de la creme of chocolates. No, not Tron. It's all sword fighting and magic and stuff. I kind of think I know, but not sure. Haven't been to the cinema in a very long time, or watched television, so I'm a bit out of the loop. I mean, who in the audience has read something that could be described as Isekai? And do you find it as entertaining as other forms of literature? Question for the audience. Audience doesn't ask me questions, I ask the audience questions. Waits for answer. This is the drawback to online social interaction. People when you've got face to face with somebody, they pretty much have to answer. When you're online, they could be doing lots of all kinds of stuff, like Tomo driving and Dennis having to do other stuff. Next week on the Simon No channel, I'll just get to that bit now. I have no idea what's happening. What is next week? I'll have to check the calendar. Hang on. What is it next week? Next week is the 30th. So not next week, but the week after that, on the 7th of December. Let's have a look. December. Yeah, 7th of December. My guest will be Jenny Silver. Like, look on YouTube for Jenny Silver. She's been on my previous show a few times. But she's she is a voice artist from America who lives in Tokyo. And if you go to the Tokyo Science Museum, for example, and want to hear, take one of those like telephone things around to hear descriptions of the displays in English, it's her voice that does that. And she's been in video games and on things like NHK, Tokyo Eye, or is it and stuff like that, briefly. But yes, she's said that she'll join me on the 7th of December, so I'm looking forward to that, because I've met her in real life even, and that was good. Jenny Silver. Silver as in silver, metal silver. Yeah. Just look up Jenny Silver on YouTube. She calls herself that because she has this silver streak in her hair. And after that, sort of January, I've got promises from a Japanese specialist from Holland who was actually wanted to come to the meetup in Amsterdam but couldn't make it. And she now follows me on Instagram, and we follow each other on Facebook. And we're going to have a discussion sometime in January, in the new year, once I've recovered from New Year, about the role of women in Japanese society. So that'll be an intellectual discussion on this show with a Japanese specialist. And I'm also trying to get an actor friend who's a friend of my Japanese actress friend. He appeared in one of her films as a young man, and now he's older and back in Japan. He was studying in California. I'm trying to get him on the show. It's that British accent of mine, Silver. Well, how else would you pronounce silver? Silver. Oh, yeah, I spelled silver. Silver. All right. Where? Depends what part of Britain you're from, right? If you're from the southwest, you'd say silver. If you're from the southeast, you would say silver. Hello, ambulance. Somebody else has hit a tree, perhaps. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Well, I've got a good month to look up on the internet and brush up on my knowledge of Japanese society and women's role therein. I know a little bit about that, but not perhaps the extent of this specialist. So it would be good to be able to talk to her on a level. Pieces of 8? Yeah, that's in reference to that last comment. Well, I have 1 minute 30 seconds to go before I have to go and pick up my son. I've enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed it too. I was briefly in I'm in my two-dimensional world, and I have now got to head back to the real world. And the viewers are going back to their real world. I see as the number count of viewers deteriorates, and those viewers who watch after the fact, I hope you are entertained. That is the purpose of this. Somebody's come back. They or has just joined. If you've just joined, I'm terribly sorry. With only like 2 minutes, 1 minute 30 seconds to go, but we had chocolate letters from Sinterklaas, which, if you watch Stuffer, which was if you go scroll back through the comments and look for Dennis from Stuffer and go to his channel, he'll explain all about Sinterklaas, which is where Santa Claus came from, or a 1D world if you believe in string theory. Passing at the passing event that drags me back into out of Isekai and my green screen world. This will come down later and be thrown into the corner of the room. And I will try and find my YouTube channel. I had to recover it last night. Usually I can click on it and select my YouTube channel, this channel, the broadcast channel, and I can go into my YouTube creator and look at videos and uploads. But it disappeared, so I had to go and go and re-enter my password and all kinds of business. I think it's something to do with StreamYard. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I'm subscribed to it on my other channel and I can see the videos, but I can't get into the video content. It's very odd. But anyway, with 5 seconds left to go, I would like to thank you all for joining. I'd like to say thank you, Perk. Thank you, MS. Thank you, Otnell. Dennis has already gone. And those were the only people interacting with me. And those who are watching and not interacting, thank you for joining. See you next week. Perhaps I will, during the week, have time to put up an advert to give you more time to to know that what's going on. I was doing it. I finished at midnight last night making the advert. Fifth person has joined. I'm sorry, terribly sorry. It's probably the notifications not working well, but it's an hour has gone since 2030 Japan Standard Time, and generally I restrict myself to an hour. Oh, Tomo's still there. You've hopefully you've driven safely. Bye, Outnell. Bye, Perk. Bye, MS. Bye, Tomo. Bye, person that may have just joined. And please watch the replay. And see you all next week. Bye, everyone. Thanks for keeping me company.